Hi, I'm author Bruce Hale, and as they say where I come from, aloha! It's time for another story time, and today I'm going to be reading to you one of my favorites from the Bruce Hale collection. This is Snoring Beauty, written by me and illustrated by Howard Fine. It's a fractured fairy tale. And if you like this story, you'll find, I'll show you a link at the end of this video where you can go visit my website and download a cool activity sheet. You can get started on writing your own fractured fairy tales. All right, so here we go. Snoring Beauty. Long, long ago, about 602 years ago last Friday at 7 p.m. Fairy Standard Time, to be exact, the childless King Gluteus and his wife, Queen Esophagus, got lucky at last. "A baby girl!" Queen Esophagus cried. "I'll eat to that," said King Gluteus. For the rest of us, peasants and milkmaids and frogs, it was business as usual. Yada, yada, hippity hop. The king and queen threw a big wing-ding for their daughter's christening. They invited every fairy from far and wide, but wouldn't you know it, they left one out. This really cranky fairy named Bibo, who was off hosting a garlic festival. On christening day, the baby girl was named Princess Drachmina no Fresca Malvolio Margarine. Poor little tadpole. She smiled and cooed anyway. The dining hall bulged with lords and ladies, and up at the head table with the king and queen sat 7 of the funkiest looking fairies you've ever seen. There were Hexus and Blexus, Nostraline and Umpudine, Fleabitus and Tintinitis, and Fred, who wasn't really a fairy, but no one had the heart to tell him. Just as they began a round of rude fairy songs, the king clapped his hands. "Time to bless the baby!" he cried. "Eh?" said Tintinitis, who was half deaf. "Slime with flesh and gravy? No thanks. I'll be back in a twinkle," she said, and she toddled off. One by one, fairies shuffled past to bless Princess Drachmina lo Fresco Malvolio Margarine. Marge for short. "She will be the most beauteous maiden in the land," said Hexus. "She will be the wittiest," said Blexus, and on and on. Best dancer, blah, blah, blah. Best singer, blah, blah, blah. Nicest penmanship, blah, blah, blah. Yada, yada, hippity hop. Until, bam! The door blew open. There stood Bibo the fairy. She looked like trouble, and she smelled like garlic. "So sorry I'm late," she snarled sweetly. "The carrier pigeon must have eaten my invitation." She stuck her big bazoo into the crib and barked, "When this babe turns 16, she will be run over by a pie wagon and die." Tintinitis returned just at that moment. "Eh? What's that? She'll turn into a dragon and fly?" "Die!" said Bibo. "Spy?" said Tintinitis. "Die!" shouted the garlicky one. "Oh my!" said Tintinitis. With a grumble and a growl, Bibo blasted off. Tintinitis turned to King Gluteus and Queen Esophagus. She could not undo Bibo's gift, but she could bamboozle it. "My blessing is that, instead of turning into a dead dragon—" "But Bibo said," the king began. "Your daughter will become a sleeping dragon." "Yes, and one day she'll be awakened by a prince," said the queen hopefully. "A quince," said the fairy. "Good idea." And poof, she was gone. First thing the next morning, King Gluteus banned all pie wagons from his kingdom. In fact, He banned all pies, even mud pies. "That should stop the curse," said the king. "Let them eat cake," sang Queen Esophagus. And look at all these pies leaving the kingdom. Years hopped along like a toad with arthritis. Princess Marge blossomed and grew, and as she grew, she became kind and beautiful, sweet and clever. As the fairies promised, Marge could sing like a nightingale, dance like sunlight on the water, sew a wedding dress blindfolded, make a chocolate cake from dirt and rocks, build a house in a single day. Yada, yada, hippity hop. The fairies forgot just one thing. She was too perfect. Nobody wanted to play with a girl who could do everything twice as well as they could. Princess Marge was lonely. The day the princess turned 16, an old woman in a wagon rolled up to the castle gate. "Let me in," she pleaded. "I bring a yummy nummy treat for the princess." The young guard spied a wagon load of pastries as round as wheels. A sweet smell made his belly rumble. Yummy nummy indeed. After so many years, he didn't know a pie from a pollywog. The guard opened the gates. The wagon trundled inside. And at that very moment, what are the odds, I ask you? Princess Marge was crossing the road to the cake shop. The street was steep, the wagon wobbled, and before you know it, the pie wagon swerved and crunched over her foot. "Yow!" cried Princess Marge. And, just as Tintinnitus foretold, alabam! She turned into a dragon, and alabeep! She fell deeply asleep. Now, legend says that the whole castle conked out too. Yeah, right. Here's what really happened. The sleeping dragon princess began to snore. Squawk! Shoo! Squawk! Shoo! If you'd like to join in on the snoring, please do. And besides being the fanciest dancer and best cake baker in the kingdom, Princess Marge was, wouldn't you know it, the loudest snoring dragon. Here we go. Squawk! Shoo! Squawk! Shoo! Did everyone rush to congratulate Marge on her perfect snores? They did not. The dragon princess dreamed lonely dreams. Days passed. No one could sleep with the racket and the ruckus. Those with carriages visited far-off kingdoms. Those without wore earplugs and shouted a lot. The king did what kings always do. He made a proclamation. "King Gluteus wants you to break the curse and awaken his daughter with a quince. Use of quince to be determined by applicant. Reward: half the kingdom, the princess's hand in marriage, and a set of elf-made garden furniture. Employees of castle not eligible. If princess awakens but remains a dragon, tough luck. You still have to marry her." See, that's why you always got to read the fine print. Well, men came to test their luck. With brass and bluster and bright ideas, they tried to awaken the dragon princess. One spooned quince curry between her lips. Marge snored on. One tickled her with the leaves of a quince tree. Squawk! Squawk! Marge snored on. One pelted her with ripe quinces. Close, but no cigar. Marge snored on. Months passed. Suitors came and suitors went. They sang quince songs and baked quince pies. They told quince jokes and sighed quince sighs. They built a quince alarm clock that squirted jam and jelly. They made a quince-filled rubber ball to bounce upon her belly. But nothing worked. Yada, yada, hippity hop. Marge snored on. Then, One day, a dusty young man clip-clopped into town. "I say, what's that awful noise?" he asked a milkmaid. "What?" she shouted. "I can't hear you. I'm wearing earplugs." She took them out. "I said, what's that noise?" yelled the man. "No need to shout," said the woman. And she told him Marge's sad, sad story. The man studied the dragon princess. She was pretty cute for a dragon. He timed her snores. Squawk! Shoo! He leaned into the blast, ears ringing. Squawk! Shoo! His hair blew back, but he puckered up. Squawk! Shoo! Then, mwah, blink! Those dragon eyes popped open, and yada, yada, hippity hop, Marge's scales melted. Her tail shriveled, and she shrank back into a human girl again. "Are you a wizard?" she asked the man. "Golly, no. I'm a prince," he said. "Prince Quince, to be exact." Well, the king kept his word, and in 2 shakes of a frog's flipper, the couple were married. This time, all the fairies in the kingdom were invited. The kingdom whooped it up with a hey nanny nanny and a ha cha cha. "Do you love me?" asked the princess. "With all my heart," said the prince, "even though I'm the best at everything." Prince Quince smiled. "Honey, nobody's perfect." And at last the newlyweds tiptoed off to their chambers, where they whispered sweet nothings and drifted off to sleep. And later that night, something awakened the prince. Squawk! Shoo! Squawk! Shoo! Prince Quince sighed. He kissed his wife's cheek, stuffed some earplugs into his ears, and rolled over. And despite the truly royal ruckus, they lived happily and noisily ever after. And that is Snoring Beauty. Thank you so much. Again, check out my website on the Snoring Beauty page. There's a handout with all kinds of fun activities you can do. And until next time, this is Bruce Hale saying aloha.